All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Marketplace Maverick. I am your host, John Cutler, and today we got Chris with us. Chris, I've been slowly watching you on Instagram ever since I started in Amazon in January 2025. But all you did was just post your orange bars for like 3 years. And then all of a sudden last week, you were in a webinar that I was in, and, I hopped into it because you were brand direct. I'm like, oh, sweet. Chris and I do the same thing. And then I listened to it. And yeah, we are both brand direct, but you and I do things completely different. So I had to get you on the podcast. And what's going on? How's it going?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Great talking.
So kind of, just start off today, I guess, give us a breakdown of kind of just a little bit of your history, when you started selling Amazon, what made you start selling at Amazon, because I think you got a pretty cool story. Because I do remember in the webinar, a lot of, we all come from different, backgrounds. I don't think you and I could have come from a different background. I was a cab company, and you started going to school to be an astrophysicist, was it?
That's true.
So that is the first I have heard of anybody leaving that realm to come into the Amazon space. So yeah, Chris, just kind of break down real quickly like what your story is.
Yeah, so I started a little over 4 years ago. I was just got into college, and like you're saying, I was studying astrophysics at all thing. I didn't know what I wanted to do then. I was just like, oh, that's cool, whatever. So yeah, I got into it as like a side hobby, kind of. I was doing an online arbitrage. I did online arbitrage for about 6 months or so. Then after getting in the space for a little bit, I was like, okay, I want to build this into a real business. Then I found the wholesale and brand direct model. From there, initially, it was mainly just distributors buying, approaching the big distributor guys and like Keepa, et cetera. And then after a few months of that, I was like, why buy from the distributors whenever I can just go directly to the brand and purchase from them, skip the middleman. And yeah, for the past, 2+ years, that's been the focus, is securing brand direct accounts. And now between all my channels, I do about $250K a month. Amazon is about 160 to 180,000 a month. That's another benefit of wholesale, is like it's very easy to split your channels up once you're doing the wholesale model, because when you have a lot of products, especially when you have your own warehouse, you can easily diversify your streams of revenue.
So you're also on, is it Walmart? What are the other?
Yeah, so Amazon, Walmart, and eBay, and then local businesses, because I'm positioned as basically a distributor myself at this point. So
Yep.
when someone Googles XYZ and then my city distributor, I'll show up. So I get a good amount of local leads from that.
Nice. So you're also doing Walmart, and because I haven't ventured off into any of that, I think I'm still in that first, I just finished my first full year in wholesale. So I looked into Walmart, I looked into TikTok, and I think I'm still in, and we talk about this a lot on the podcast, is for entrepreneurs, like it's hard to kind of figure out when to like have tunnel vision and when to leverage yourself and expand.
Yeah.
And I think I started playing around with Walmart and even TikTok, and then I quickly realized that I was like, not yet. I want to, but I am still in the kind of tunnel vision version of growing one business and kind of trying to get good at one thing. So I do brand direct. We talk a lot about on this podcast, we try to fix problems for brands, add value, and a lot of where I have found myself running into is I'm helping brands grow, listings, optimizing listings, showing value that way. You have taken the brand direct partly because of you started at a different time of Amazon, even though it really wasn't that long ago, but things in Amazon move quickly. 2023 and 2026 or 2022 are they're like night and day. So you really did it through a different ways. You go after larger brands a lot of times, and you kind of start with the distribution route first.
Yeah, so like I was saying, I went from OA to just strictly the distributors. And then how I got into brand direct was I'd be like, okay, I'm buying 20K a month of this brand from this distributor. So then I would approach the brands directly and then tell them that. I'd be like, I'm buying this amount a month from this distributor. Can I open a direct account with y'all? And typically that would be bigger brands. Like one of the brands I work with is 3M, for example.
No kidding.
And they're so big, they don't really do the exclusive.
No. That's not even one you even try.
Yeah, so they don't. I do have a direct account with them now, but
No kidding.
it's more. They're basically still just a distributor for me if you look at it that way. Because like I'm just buying from them and selling on pre-existing listings. Like I can't be like, hey, let's make this product an ASIN or anything like that. I still do some small brands and have exclusive selling rights for them. But yeah, so I'm still I still buy from distributors and then I buy from brands directly, but don't have
Mm-hmm.
rights, and then I also buy from brands directly and have exclusive rights. I kind of do the whole spectrum of wholesale.
Yeah, so with the 3M, and now the 3M, because I remember I use a distributor at 3M and I couldn't get anything close in 3M to work for me. How do you approach a brand? Because I'll be honest, like 3M would be a brand I wouldn't even think about reaching out to
Yeah, yeah,
because they're just so big. I would put 3M in the category of like Bounty Towel Roll. Like, why am I going to reach out to
yeah,
them?
like Procter
Now,
Gamble or something like that.
yeah, Procter Gamble type stuff. Like, there's no point. But how did were you able to talk to your distributor, and did your distributor kind of give you the name of a salesperson? Because a lot of times, I know in brand direct, it's one of the hardest things to do is to get in front of a decision maker, especially
Yeah,
the larger the brand, harder it is. And you're just talking to a salesperson, maybe not even a salesperson, but some sort of office manager, secretary, where they're kind of like the gatekeeper. So with brands like that, you just can't get past anyone. I would think once you're working with an authorized distributor, you might be able to talk to them and actually get somebody that can make a decision.
yeah. So one thing I've noticed a lot of people do wrong is like they basically only communicate through email. This is
Yeah,
relationship
that's a big no-no.
like I basically become best friends with my sales rep.
That's
So like for
Yep.
the 3M example, I reached out to my distributor sales rep and was like, "Hey, I want to approach them directly." And then from there, they gave me the direct contact. And in this situation, I actually talked to the 3M guy and he recommended I join this co-op, which is like a
Okay.
huge office co-op. Do you know what a
Yes.
co-op is? A bunch of businesses get together and then
Yep.
form buying power. So yeah, so then from that, I use that reference as means to then join this co-op, which this co-op is like over 30% of my spend in total. They're a huge part of my revenue. But the benefit of it is I'm all direct with every brand in the co-op that I work with. Like I talk to the rep directly. All that is just the billings done through the co-op. So
That's
yeah,
that's that's interesting because co-op. So I haven't run into that much, and that is actually something that I'm looking into myself now. Is some co-ops. I think I ran into one. It didn't make sense, but I ran into one with like in the pool and spa industry, kind of like Intex. There was
yeah.
a couple different ones like that. I didn't know much about co-ops, what they were when it was not offered to me, but they said there was like a chance to do it. But the co-ops seemed like sometimes there's a buy-in to the co-op. I think the
Yeah,
one
like
I was talking,
mine, it was a buy-in, yeah. Because
yeah,
like
usually they have buy-in.
I bought like technically I'm an owner of this co-op because my
Sure.
buy-in bought me shares, which is excellent because whenever Amazon, I've never got issues with using their invoices to get ungated because technically the letterhead is the co-op and then it will say from 3M to my business. But then I send them the documentation that's like, I am this co-op essentially is what I'm trying to explain to them because it goes, I place a PO in the co-op and then it goes from 3M's warehouse to my warehouse directly.
Okay.
So the supply chain is simply 3M to me to Amazon, which is what they want.
It's exactly what they want. How about with these co-ops? So something I've run into with distributors is brands, Amazon asking, before it was an LOA, not hard to get. The second one that was, I ran into a lot of problems with larger brands, with some distributors now, and this might be because I only started in January 2025. I'm running into you need to be in the brand's registry. That is the first thing they say to me. Now, every single brand that I sell, I am in their registry. In fact, it's part of my sales pitch to a brand, and it's part of what makes brand direct the style that I'm doing it so easy is for the most part, before I sell anything, the brand puts me into their registry and I never have to deal with being ungated. I'm running into sometimes now with distributors that even though I'm giving a letter of authorization and everything, they're saying, oh, you need to be in the brand's registry. Now, I don't know if I just got the wrong rep at Amazon. It very well could be, but it's happened with 2 or 3 other different brands lately with me. Larger brands, not quite 3M size, but large brands. So like 3M, is 3M brand registered? I would assume they must
Yeah,
be.
they are. I'm not in
Yeah.
their registry though.
Right. I would think that's just too huge.
Yeah, they're one of the people who just like
You
they
just
just
get
let
in.
you sell. Yeah, they
Yeah.
just let you sell, and like they don't enforce math or
Nope.
anything of that nature. But they just have such a big catalog that like you're gonna find something that works. You know.
Right.
And for my situation, the co-op I'm in is like an office Jansan
Okay.
co-op, so I don't have full access to all of 3M's catalog because they, I mean, I would guess they have millions of SKUs. Like they have
Yeah.
so many.
Countless.
They're in every industry, I swear. So I
Yeah.
just have, like their office, things like Command Strip, Scotch
Yep.
Brite. I have those sort of SKUs. But yeah, honestly, I have getting ungated. I've never had a rep explicitly state, "Oh, you have to be in the brand registry." Maybe
Yeah.
my thought is maybe the
I am
brand has to set that where like
yeah,
only
well, no, because you can't set that.
yeah,
I
that's what
truly
I thought.
think, and
So I,
this is just a guess with Amazon. I think a lot of it has to do is when you started selling Amazon.
that's true.
Like,
Yeah, my account's over 4 years old. So
yeah, like I think people that have their account 4 years old, people like they're just number one, not even the hard gated part. Like, some people can sell Nike, some people can't. Not that part, but I think depending on how old your account is, it triggers certain things in their AI. Because a lot of times
score
yeah,
value.
health score. Because I brought this up to like other large sellers and they just do the same thing you do. They're like, oh, yeah, I've never run into that. And with me, I ran into it like 3 times in a row. I'm like, okay, this is triggering. This isn't just by chance. And I tried everything to like get around it, letter of authorization, like, and they just kept on like hammering the brand registry. I'm like, okay, this is something's going on with this. It's not hard gated, but like they're being told to say this because there is no setting. And I've tried because even brands that I'm selling and I'm in their registry, I've looked for that setting because I want to turn it on.
Yeah.
So other people can't get approved for it, and it's not there. So I think it has something to. It also may have something to do with how long the brand's been on the listing. How long the brand's been on Amazon. A huge brand like 3M. So that's really interesting with co-ops because that's something that I've been looking into just as a way for me to scale. I've been super super lucky to find my huge brand that has given me like my foundation of my business, but I also want to be able to expand because I think part of what I lack right now is diversity. Like, I actually love having one big brand that does expensive stuff and on 5 SKUs. That's wonderful. But like, I also want to diversify myself and expand to like a lot more SKUs and stuff like that because
Yeah.
you guys do a ton of
Well
high
over
volume.
500 ASINs.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have your own warehouse,
Yes, I do.
correct? So
Yeah.
what is your team like at your warehouse?
Yeah. So I have 3 people whose full-time job is receiving prepping. It's all they do all day. It was just me and then my first employee for the first 2 years. And then a few months ago, I brought on the other 2 people because back to school is by far the biggest time of year for me. So yeah, I brought them on in anticipation of that. So yeah, it's just us 4. Like I do all the admin work, and then I have 2 VAs. One sole job is they just go through my huge distributor catalogs and
Yes.
because like UPC scanners are awesome, but actually searching the title and things like that is where you find the really good listings because a lot of times the most profitable things are like a 2-pack or 4-pack. And they're
Yes.
not going to match. And then my other VA's job is I give her, she utilizes Smart Scout, the software, and she'll go through that and identify potential brands to reach out to work with.
So you still do a lot of now the reach out. Do you do that yourself?
She does the initial reach out, and then I will go from after they then respond.
Okay.
So
And you're a big proponent of, because I think you did this, you said the same thing, and this goes for distributors or brands, is that phone call, getting
yeah,
on the phone,
yeah.
talking to them. It's fine to send POs over, and small talk can all be done through email. But what you get when you start talking on the phone with someone, or even better, and I know that you're right now you're visiting one of your
Yeah.
brands.
I'm in Miami visiting my biggest brand.
Your biggest brand. And I've actually started planning on going to like at some point going to visit my biggest brand.
Yeah, and then
Because
I'll go
getting
with them later and like what time is it? Yeah, it's 6, so an hour and a half. And my goal is I'm gonna talk to him about placing a giant PO and see what pricing they'll give me. So like,
yeah.
things like, business is a relationship. So you gotta treat it like
Yeah.
such,
Yeah, and it's not, I always thought like, with brand direct, My big brand, I mean, that office manager, Donna, I thought she was just a secretary when I first called. Come to find out, the owner is hands off. I've never spoken to him. But
Wow.
Donna runs the show.
Yeah.
You
That's the
know,
person you want to talk to.
you
Yeah.
know, Donna runs the show. I didn't know how much power Donna had, but it's a small business and she runs everything. They're in one location. I know almost everybody in that building now that I've talked to.
That's awesome.
Like
Yeah.
Donna sent me a Father's Day card,
Yeah, see, that's the exact, and just talking to him through email, you're not going to get that type of
No, every time I pay a bill, that's on the phone. I know
Yeah.
I can do it online. I do it on the phone. Donna was going on a cruise over the winter. Like, I made sure I timed it. So the day before she left her cruise, I called her with like a new PO to like give her over the phone. And then like when she got back after 2 weeks, I made sure like I timed up and like called her. How was your trip? Like, where'd you go? Like, she emailed me some pictures of her trip, like stuff like that. But when it came down to when I started increasing those sales, and I always say to like people that were brand direct, I was like, the exclusives that you're going to get is when you make promises or you tell that when you make promises and you follow through with them is what gets you the exclusive. I told her I was going to increase sales. She didn't listen to me. She's like, yeah, okay. They didn't do anything on Amazon. They had no interest in it. I was like, okay. And then I started doing it. And then when she started getting 20, 30 phone calls a day from Amazon people, she wouldn't take their orders. She was like, hold on a second. Too many people are, and she like called me and was like, how do I make the phone calls stop? And I had already pitched exclusivity. I had pitched all that, and it fell on deaf ears until it didn't. Yeah. And it was just one phone call. She called me and that was it. In 5 minutes, we were exclusive. And it took several months to like get it going and get it all cleaned up. But that was it. And that was because, and then when I kicked my transparency, kicked everybody off the listing, they all called her freaking out because they had been buying for a while. And she called me. She's like, they're all freaking out. And I was like, they had a chance to do what I did and they chose not to. Yeah. I was like, that's on them. I was like, if they've been selling on Amazon, like they should know that it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, and the distributors go the same way. You make a distributor, distributors are going to be a little bit more price and, they want bonuses. They make money off of that. But a distributor doesn't mean you don't make friends with your salesperson because when they take on a new brand, or they have a closeout sale, or like there is so much, especially the larger the distributors are, there's so much more that is not shown.
Yeah, great. Funny you say that. A great example of that is I sell the brand Bic and I buy directly from them when it was mainly just office stuff. And then, I was like, wait, Bic shavers, that's so huge. Like that does just the shavers alone does like $1 million+ a month on Amazon. And so I called my rep and I was like, hey, we only have the office product price list, can you send me over the shaver price list? And he was like, and this was through the co-op. And he was like, honestly, we've never done that through the co-op, but let me see what I can do. And then he got it to me in like a week. And now I do like $20K a month just with those shavers. So,
yep. Yeah, you never know. It's making friends with, I've talked with, and I haven't been able to like do this yet, but I've talked to the people that said their sales reps have gone from one company to another and brought them with them. It was like, I lost a sales rep. She was like, I kept on buying from that distributor because I spent a lot of money. So the next sales rep came in and was like, wanted to work with me, obviously. He's like, but that sales rep that I worked with for 3 or 4 years went to another company. And guess who their first phone call was when they got to that company? It was me asking me like, hey, here's some Amazon stuff. Like, do you want to start buying from us? So even that can start to happen. So the networking is just as important, whether it's brand direct or like distribution. It's just different stuff.
Yeah. And so many people approach it with the wrong mindset of like, okay, I'm going to get this account open and then immediately make a lot of money. You got to build up that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the longer I'm with a brand and just in general, like I started learning, like the longer you're on a listing, the more buy box you're going to get. And, the more stock you have, the more buy box share you're going to get. And I think with distribution and brands, that takes a while to build.
Yeah.
It takes a while to build. OA guys, I don't think, OA, it's just send it in. And if it catches on fire, you probably won't be able to replant it a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
And another thing, so you are, and I think everybody gets into Amazon and selling on Amazon. Like when I went to the brand direct, I always say like, hey, I'm category agnostic. Like, I don't, other than like, I don't sell clothes, I don't sell electronics, stuff like that. But I was like, I'm category agnostic. And then you start to, a lot of times, naturally fall into a niche. Like, I'm falling into higher price automotive stuff. Does that mean I wouldn't sell Bic pens? Of course not. But it's kind of where I'm starting to feel comfortable and starting to find like a little bit of a niche. It sounds like you kind of found a niche like in office products.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with Amazon, you kind of have to be
You
agnostic.
have to.
If it makes money, you should sell it. But yeah, Office is definitely my cup of tea nowadays for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reaching
And
out, getting brand.
I think with you, it's really important for you to have your warehouse because you have to do so much prep.
Yeah, a lot of prep. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I run into a lot of times like when I first started, I had a lot of, like most people, a lot of luck in grocery and hot sauce, stuff like that. And I wasn't realizing, I'm like, the hot sauce, like I can buy it for $3.25. It's on Amazon for $13. I'm like, ooh, I can make money. And then I quickly realized, like, it's okay. I quickly realized, I was like, shit, I got to pay for shipping. That's a pallet. And then it goes to my prep center. And the way that it works is like, yeah, this sells single, but I got to make multi-packs out of it to make money. Yeah. And then it's glass. So I got to bubble wrap it. And then my prep center, the guy's really good and he gives good prices. But by the time that 4-pack bubble wrapped shipped, I'm like, I'm not making money anymore. Or now if that price just drops $1,
yeah,
screwed.
Yeah.
And I got screwed several times doing it. And I was like, oh man, that's cheaper stuff. I'm like, the prep is what makes it just not affordable. So you must run into that all the time. Not anymore because you have your own warehouse, but having your own warehouse makes a huge difference because you must be selling stuff under $10.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which I can't even look at.
My average for the most part is like 15 or so, $15 to $16. So yeah, I sell plenty of stuff I sell some stuff that's like $6 even,
Wow.
But I mean, I'm getting it at like maybe 50 cents.
You have to.
My prep per unit is way lower than any prep center would ever quote me, ever.
Right.
It's like even a bubble, even the most expensive thing to prep is probably packs of bubble wrap things.
Yep.
And I'd say at max, I'm probably paying, like, my cost is 40 cents maybe. Because
there's no way you're getting, once you add bubble wrap in, you're not getting anywhere close to 40 cents.
Yeah, no, it'd probably be more like $1 plus.
$1 plus. And for the most part, I mean, $1 per item just to FNS SKU, it is pretty average, is pretty decent.
Yeah, so like my cost just paying my guys to do that is probably under 10 cents. So
yeah,
they're so good at it. I mean, they can prep 1,000 items in a day if it's just FNS SKUs easily.
See, that is a conundrum that I am in because obviously higher price, something I'm selling $260. Yeah, it goes like, it's $1 to prep it. I don't like, it's not even, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But, I've looked into, because I own some warehouses and at where I am, the thought of having a prep center and employees makes you want to like jump off a boat into like shallow water. So just because I'm at a little bit different life, I also live in an area that would be terrible for a prep center.
I live in a great area for warehouse space. So
yeah, see, that is another thing.
It isn't big or anything. Like if I had it here, like in Miami, that would be. And even like when I was first getting started, like my first warehouse was only like 1,000 square feet, and so like I was paying so much more per square foot per year that like even then it was like. But now that I've scaled up more, it's it's economy of scale. So now my cost per unit is so much lower. So it's way lower to have my own warehouse than to use a prep center. And for me, like now that I am essentially a distributor and I sell to local businesses and stuff, like having my own warehouse has been
a lifesaver.
So many opportunities. Like a local clinic's being built in my city, and they found us through Google because I have a bunch of furniture suppliers, but I don't even sell them on Amazon, but I have them on my website because I just have access to them. And they saw that and they placed $70,000 worth of furniture with me.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing is if you actually have the number one thing that I run into with brands, not so much, we don't get this with distributors, but brands is get a brick and mortar, gotta have a website, gotta be able to buy things on a website. And like, you're able to at least, even though I always say that is the dumbest reason to sell, not to sell somebody because it's a brick and mortar,
Yeah.
because they're not brick and mortar, but it is, I also say, like, well, if you actually have a brick and mortar and you sell on your website, well, use it to your advantage.
Yeah. Then that's 100% what I do.
You use that to your advantage, because I always tell brands, I'm like, hey, brick and mortars are great, and those guys, when they walk into the store, your pool products, let's say, they're going to be able to do a fantastic job at selling your pool products, but that same pool store that is throwing their excess inventory onto Amazon is actually hurting you. I sell on Amazon. I specialize on Amazon and e-commerce. Let your brick and mortar guys do your brick and mortar, and let somebody who specializes in e-commerce handle your e-commerce. And that's usually the way that I go with a brand. And it's still a real uphill battle to be able to do that with.
Oh yeah.
And it usually does not work.
Yeah. So
even if you make sense.
Yeah. I mean, the classic is just like, yeah, we don't sell to Amazon sellers.
Exactly. That's my favorite thing to hear.
I always at least try to, get to them, and I'm like,
oh so, yeah, absolutely. I always think,
why is that? I ask them like what their pain points are, and then from there I'll, expand on that. But
yeah, that is the other part of your business that I listen a lot with on, when we were talking with Miles, is you also have done much more with AI than most brand direct guys. I have seen a lot of guys. AI is just fantastic because there's so many repetitive tasks in brand direct. Wholesale, for you, I think there are, probably because you have such a massive catalog. But with AI, for me, I use it a ton to assist me because I'm so niche right now with brand direct. I don't have price lists for the most part. Like, most brands have 2 to 10 ASINs, and like 3 of them or something. Right, and it's 3 of them sell, and the other 5 don't do shit. Right? Yeah. the 70-30 rule.
Yeah. True.
So I never really run into that, but I use AI a ton for pitch decks, case studies. I send every brand I work with a monthly newsletter that says, hey, this is how much we've sold. This is how much we're spending on advertising. This is what everyone else is selling compared to what we're doing. And kind of, slowly add value. And I'm always working towards the exclusive. So any excuse I can get to contact the brand, I'm doing. AI has been fantastic for that. You have taken AI to and if I ever wanted to get into these co-ops, get into buying from distributors or within these co-ops, I would have to do something kind of what you're doing with AI on being able to sort through catalog and really get into that. Because that's something like, I'll be honest with you, I can barely make a spreadsheet. It's not good. Like, AI does a lot of it for me, and I have a VA who does it all for me. But it's my number one bottleneck is just the general movement, like spreadsheets, stuff like that. So tell me a little bit about what you've done with AI, with I think a friend of yours, right?
Yeah. So, so first I'll get into the spreadsheet. One thing I've done with the spreadsheets, because every distributor, or mainly distributors, will give you the big spreadsheets. They all format it differently. So maybe that won't look the same in a UPC scanner, or can confuse your VA or something like that. So I have a Claude agent that's been trained on, at this point, over a million SKUs of data. And so every time I get a spreadsheet, I give it to that Claude agent, and it formats it exactly how I like it. For example, like if you store a UPC code as a numerical value in Excel, it will remove the leading 0 from the code. And because of that, it won't scan in a UPC scanner. So like it'll immediately notice that, turn it into a text value to then add a 0 to the front. So now it's a 12-digit code that can actually be scanned like it should be.
I actually remember that on one of the scans I was doing, and somebody tried to teach me about it, and I was like, oh shit, this is nuts.
That's a class. Like, people will scan it and be like, why does it show 0? Which should never, there's always going to be ASINs that match. So
right.
And that's one thing that saves me so much time, because before, when I first got started, that wasn't a thing. So that was a huge time saver. But yeah, my friend who's helping me internally, I use an internal software instead of like outside softwares besides Smart Scout and Keepa. But for everything regarding like restock, repricing, review solicitation.
Even repricer. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild that you even have a restock. I can see because I still have not like found a good program. Like I use Connect Books a lot for like my accounting and everything. They have a restocker, but they kind of they're only taking like what's like fully in stock and not what's like incoming. Like I can never get like a clear, because I'm really counting like if I send something in and it's not fully checked in and there's like, I got 300 or something, but only like 20 are checked in my head, like, no, I have 300 of it. Like, even if it's not all checked in, that's what I have for stock. And like a lot of like the programs, they're only taking like what's in stock. So it's
Yeah.
telling me to restock. And it's like, no, don't do that. So I still haven't found one that is, that's correct for me.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly why I had my friend, me and him built. I call it Zeroth, but it's like the internal tool I use to
Yep.
run my business, and it's built exactly for people who do this type of model, the wholesale and brand direct model. Because the issue with softwares is, especially with like a restocker, repricer, is like they'll try to appeal to everybody, but then it kind of limits functions that like, okay, only OA guys need or only wholesale guys need. So yeah, having an internal tool like that, especially because like, my restock, like everything shares a central database. So
Yep.
every part of the tool knows every other aspect of it. So like before this, I had one software that was a repricer. I had one software that was
Yep.
restock. It was all separated. And I had one that did shipment workflows. But now it's like, okay, from the restock, I build a PO for my supplier, like based on the suggestion. Submit the PO. I receive it. Once it's received, my warehouse guys literally just click a button that says either add to a shipment or create a new shipment. And then that creates a workflow. And from there, they can immediately start prepping it. No intervention from me is involved at all. So
That
stuff like that
is,
has just been huge time saver and time's money. So it saves
yeah.
a lot of
It
money.
makes sense because these things, Seller Amp, any of these things that build stuff, they're building it to sell it. So the more people that can buy it, not just OA, not just wholesale, they want to build something for just like Amazon. So you're going to sell a lot more if you got a lot more people buying it. But I think the AI is, because I just had Sadiq on last week, and he's heavily into like the AI, really doing exactly what you did, but he's going to, he's trying to charge people and build it for people.
Yeah.
But it really is like the one stop kind of like dashboard for like your entire business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And right
how
now,
long have you been using it?
about 6 months now.
And
So it's
it
kind of like
seems
a
like it,
transition period. Like I wanted to make sure everything was working properly before
yeah.
I canceled everything.
And for the most part, it doesn't break. It doesn't like it's
No,
been
no.
pretty
I
solid
mean,
for you.
I'll find issues. It's still relatively new
New,
software, especially with only one user.
yeah.
Well, technically, there's a couple users. The only people I let use it are like people I like am directly helping sell on Amazon. So, but yeah, for the 99% of the time, there's special edge cases where it's like, okay, it should do this differently or this and that. You know,
But you're not turning it on in the morning and it's just not working.
yeah, no, I mean it runs 24/7.
That's
So it's
fantastic.
cheaper to host it in AWS than to pay all these guys.
That's what I was thinking, because between like Amazon, I have to go through my subscription sometimes
Oh
because
yeah,
I'm like, I try not to be cheap because it's like another $15 for something. You're like, don't be cheap, get it. And then your head, you're like, but how many of these things do I have? And I think my stat, like Celeram, Keepa, I mean, Keepa, you always have. My repricers, $200 a month.
yeah. I was using Seller Snap, which was 500 a month.
Which is 500 even more. I
Yeah,
only use I use Aura. They're
yeah,
fantastic, but
Aura's great.
now that I'm starting to become exclusive with like big brands, like I don't need a
Yeah, you really
repricer.
don't need it because like you'll be more of a set price. So
Right, right. And with Aura, a lot of them, like if you do, 100K a month, they charge you a certain amount,
yeah,
even though they're only managing 20K.
yeah,
Because I got the repricer off on anything I'm exclusive with. So they're really only managing. I mean, it's just it's a cost of doing business. Like
yeah,
my choice is to not have a repricer, and then like I can't do anything.
yeah,
So that's interesting, where these are going to be like it costs you some money to build it. And well, for you, not much, because you were actually building it with a friend. And obviously you seem like you have some computer knowledge. You like to work with that stuff.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
great thing about my business too. Is I got to buy my computer tax free. So
Yeah, it is one of those things. Like I got into Brand Direct And, I host a call once a week for the Operation Amazon guys that do brand direct, and I help like with sales. Like, I didn't stick with OA because I enjoy talking to brands. Like, partly definitely my age, but like it's the one part about like e-commerce where I'm like, oh, it kind of feels like brick and mortar to me. When I was doing OA, I was just fish out of water the whole time. When I got into brand direct 3 months into it, it was the first time where I was like, I can bring like my past business experience into this and it helps me. Doing OA and stuff, there was just nothing correlated with anything that I had ever done. So the brand direct, creating relationships, all the important stuff is like what I thrive at. It's what I'm comfortable at. I got my VA in order for her to do all that stuff and just let me do sales. Like, I just want to do the sales part.
Yeah,
but,
which is the most important.
Which is the most important, but being organized and having everything in front of you and being efficient is also super important. And that is where like my hardest part is, not because I'm not an organized person. It's just because you got all these extensions and this and that and this word, like you got to use this for that and then this program for that program. And it is definitely like, man, I would like to just to have everything in like one place. And people say that like programs say they do it, but it's not quite. Like Connect books I use, they're fantastic. Like they give me super, super accurate profit and loss, like with returns right down to the SKU. And it's very good. Like the way it's like, you've heard of Seller Board. Yeah. So Connect books is Seller Board, but much, much better and more accurate.
Yeah. Like that's another thing my tool does is like, it knows everything. It knows like even my off Amazon expenses. Like it
knows everything. Like Seller Board will get close.
Just everything for my business essentially. Besides Keepa, because Keepa is just irreplaceable. Same with Smart Scout because like they just have data.
Yeah, the Smart Scouts.
Data, like you can't just make an API call and get that much data.
Exactly.
So like those are the only things that are, in my opinion, basically irreplaceable. But everything else, I built it out. So
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So
and like I have my friend, he's a software engineer and he made an L that is just solely trained on the data, and I can ask it stuff like, what are my top 5 ASINs this week, or based on sales.
It just it has it.
Yeah, like it just knows everything.
Yeah, that's the awesome part about AI is if AI has the right context and has the right like information all in there, it spits out fantastic things.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I didn't realize. And I actually made a post about this today is, so my big brand, 5 ASINs, not brand registered when I started with them. So the 5 ASINs I was taking, they had the listings had a UPC to some other company. It wasn't the correct UPC. Okay, so right away, I took 3 weeks and tried to change the UPC number to the correct one. I got the brand like GS1 barcodes. Well, changing a UPC is an act of Congress with Amazon. Yeah. So I finally got on the phone with Amazon. Amazon was like, hey, like you're better off building new listings, putting the correct UPC code on them, put them in brand registry, put your transparency on them, and then merge the old listings into the new ones. That was 3 months ago. So that's what I did. Put my first order in, but I knew when they're in brand registry, hey, I have no reviews. These have to merge because all those others, even though listings are crap, they have hundreds of reviews. So like it got real stressful. And I use Claude not to automatically do it, but go back and forth with Amazon. Every time I got a message back, I got into their catalog. It just happened today. I woke up this morning, all 5 listings merged, but because the other listings were 1P with retail contribution and stuff like that, it was hard. So I started a whole project with Claude and just like I would just copy paste messages back and forth. It went on for, I spent 8 hours a week on the phone with Amazon, just back and forth. It was everything on Amazon. One is built on, like, it couldn't get the 2 listings to talk. And finally I got it done. And I was just like, they finally did it. I actually ended up going on Twitter complaining, getting a social media rep. And that's the person who actually was my point person and got it done.
No way, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I did it all. And then I realized when I finished everything today, I'm like, I typed into Claude, I'm like, hey, Claude, give me a 2-page PDF and summarize this entire ordeal into 2-page PDF. And it put together the coolest PDF. I'll send it to you. It put together the coolest PDF, like, all together of, like, everything I did for the past 60 days. But I put it together, and as soon as those listings were merged, it was just like a light switch.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's wild what you can do with AI. And I was using AI as, like, assisting me. I was probably doing it the long way because that's just how I knew it could work. So I just started doing it that way, just screenshots. Every time they would message me, just put the message into AI, like, give me a response. And they would just spit out a response and I just did that hundreds of times.
Yeah, I do
So
every support case or anything like that. I have Claude because like laying it out as clear as possible is so crucial for
yeah, yeah.
support.
And they just really lay
They'll
it out
find the
well.
littlest thing and be like, well, this or that. So using something
You,
like Claude or ChatGPT is so useful in those cases.
exactly. So, kind of to finish up here today, you, for years and years and years, well, years and years, a couple of years, you just posted your orange bars, which number one really gave, and that's all other than my podcast. I always tell people, like, how much do you spend on those social media? I'm like, about 15 minutes a week I spend on it. I was like, I take a couple pictures, might take a reel, that's it. I'm like, that's all you have to do. But it really gave you like a proof of concept. Because anytime I look at someone's online coach or something, like their profile, I'm always scrolling to the bottom. I'm like, how long have they been doing this? Did they just like, yeah, they got 5,000 followers, but did they just like, did they have a marketing company and like got those in a month? And like, or if they've been here for 4 years and actually have like kind of made, and you did that, not in a way where you're actually talking to the camera, but with your orange bars, you did it. So you've kind of decided now all of a sudden that you are getting into the space of online. Are you online coaching? Is
Yeah.
that your?
So like, it's not like a course or anything. Like I only
Okay.
select people I see, potential with that I think could actually
Gotcha.
use my advice and actually put it into work. So I'm kind of picky with it. But yeah, I've started like mentoring.
So more of like, and this is where I would see, I mean, after 4 or 5 years being in the business, people ask, I work a lot with like the Operation Amazon guys. And they really put together like a robust program. It is so much work,
Yeah.
like to do what they're doing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm never doing that. But I've always said to myself, I'm like, I'd consult like at some point when people try to come to me. Randomly, I have people, and I think I know what I'm talking about more than I do. I've had people offer me money on Instagram to like get on a call. And I'm like, I tell you what, I'll just get on a call with you. Like, I'm not going to take your money. It's not this isn't my job to do that. So I like the idea of like you really consulting or mentoring just like a small circle of people that
Yeah.
number one,
That's what I'm going for. Yeah. Not like,
highly motivated.
yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of times in the online coaching, never do. Surprisingly enough, people pay thousands of dollars for a course and never use it,
Yeah.
which is absolutely bonkers to me because I know I paid for Miles' course and it was what motivated me. When I started, I'm like, wait a second, I just spent, I don't know what it was, $2,500, $3,000 on Miles' course. Get my, like, even if I crash and burn at this, like I am getting my $3,000 out of this, or whatever the charge is. I'm like, I'm not going to like pay for something. It's like, it's like buying new sneakers for the gym. Like I buy new sneakers, I'm going to go to the gym the next day.
Yeah.
Like that's always been my mentality for things like that. But it's surprisingly enough, it's not everybody's. So I like the idea of you really wanting to go small and more of like a boutique type, taking people where number one, they have capital, because the other thing you're going to find out with,
I'm not going to be like, hey guys, you can do this with $100. No, you can't.
No, you can't. And it is shocking. And I think it is not so much young people my age that do not come from owning a business, that actually don't understand how much it takes. Like if you want to make if you want to make 100, it's going to cost you 60. Best case option, it's going to cost you 60, or at least to invest that. And it was like, I told some people this and they kind of looked at me. They're like, really? I'm like, and I felt like going, what did you think it was going to do? Like just magically like appear? Like this business works really well and you can use credit card. There's all kinds of ways to like float money. I was like, but yeah, you do not need a lot to start. And I tell people, in fact, you shouldn't start with a lot or you're going to make dumb choices and throw your money around too much. I'm like, you need to have a plan for having that money. Have yourself a credit line. Because I always use my example of my big brand. I started at $4,000. That was my first order with them, which was a large order for a test order. Yeah. And then every order was 4, 8, 12, 25, because there was an opportunity there. If I didn't have a plan to have capital, I would have wasted that opportunity and not been able to purchase. And I think we all know, like Amazon is not easy to purchase from. If you hit a brand and it starts hitting and you cannot capitalize on that, that is suicide.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's bad. Like if all of a sudden, hey, because I remember the first time I bought from this brand, I bought 20 of like their Hero ASIN. One day sold all 20. And it was like,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, but what if that was all my money? What if I was like, oh, I can't really buy from them again? Like I don't have the capital set up. Like I tell people, I'm like, that can't happen. I was like, you're never going to make it in this business if you can't capitalize on your, on stuff like that. Yeah, I think being you get to be a little bit more picky and choosy and saying like, hey, I really want to work with this. This person's motivated. They have, number one, a brain. You don't need to be a rock. You don't need to be an astrophysicist to do this business. But I was like, you can't be an idiot either.
Yeah. And you got to approach it like this is a full-time business. So many people are trying to half-ass it. Can't be doing that.
No, Amazon is not a side hustle.
Yeah. Like if you want to be very successful with it, which you can be, you just have to, it's a full-time business.
I tell people, I'm like, I started full time from day one. Kind of rare to start an OA in day one, because I really said to myself, I was like, you got 1 year until you got to start paying yourself. I was like, I can live poor for a year. But people that are just getting into that, like, if you want to have a side hustle, go do I always say Amazon influencer program. Great side hustle. No money out of your pocket or very minimal. It's just your time. I was like, Amazon is not part-time anymore. Like, to me, a side hustle is not something that I put my own money into. Side hustle is something that is my time. That's my personal opinion. So
yeah, you can build it up. Like I'm gonna be in Miami for the next 4 days, and I'll probably sell $40,000 or so, or $35,000. And like I'm not even at the warehouse. A shipment's getting picked up tomorrow. Or wait, today actually got picked up. I assume that was probably like 40,000 in my cost with shipment, and I wasn't there. I have the systems in place, but that's because I treat it like a real business.
Yeah, you have to treat it like it's a real business. So those are the things. That's the kind of things you're going to get to have fun too with mentoring. So, well, listen, Chris, I appreciate you coming on today. I thought this was fantastic. Yeah, you're getting better at talking to the camera.
I've only started recently, like getting to know more sellers. So
well, like
great talking with like-minded people. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's so weird because this business is like so few people know what we do and understand it.
Yeah.
That it was cool for me to I went to my first conference, I went to Sellers United in Miami Sellers Conference last year, and it was cool to be around people that kind of they get what you're doing. Because all of your friends, all of my friends, they're like, you're doing what? On where? You're selling on Amazon? I'm like, yeah. They're like,
still barely know what I do.
Yeah, they don't understand it. So it's just cool to network. I always say, I'm like, listen, talking to people, I was like doing social media, doing this. It's made me money, not in a direct, hey, you're not telling me oh, hey, call this guy at BIC. He'll just do a PO for you. Yeah. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. I was like, but you just learn stuff from people. And you get to talk to people who you wouldn't think would talk to you. Some guy that does 20 million a year. I got to sit down. I had a long conversation with the #1 seller on eBay at the Miami Sellers Conference.
Wow. Yeah.
Awesome. And the guy's hilarious. And he's just this goofy guy, but he cooks on eBay. He does $3 million a month or something on eBay, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Selling books. He sells books too. It's wild.
I would not have guessed that.
No, there's so many things.
Amazon seller. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's cool to find all that out. But listen, I'm gonna link when we're gonna make this live next week. I'm gonna link all of the stuff, your social media and stuff to this. And I think you're gonna do well. And the beauty about it is you're gonna be able to do a little bit of coaching, but it doesn't matter because it's not your main income. So you get to be picky and work with people that you want to work with.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
I'm trying to build a inner circle, I guess, of just people who are doing the exact same thing as me. We can all learn from each other. That's
exactly.
The goal, essentially. So
exactly. Nice, man. Well, listen, everybody that you're listening, like and subscribe to this. We had Sadiq last week who is absolutely crushing at doing it. Chris, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You and Sadiq both 22. All right. So so guys, age doesn't matter in this business. In fact, the younger people are where us old people are actually learning from. So So guys, until next time, we will see you on the Marketplace Maverick. I will be back next week with probably a new guest. Take it easy, guys.